Hello everyone, we are the group 2 and we are assigned to report the importance of media literacy education. We have 8 importance of media literacy. First is to develop skills in information verification and respect to people's point of view. Second, strengthens critical and analytical thinking. Third, teaches responsible sharing of information and proper acknowledgement of media sources. Fourth, media mirrors our culture. Fifth, determine and identifies communication strategies. Six, teaches you how to not be swayed by persuasion techniques. Seven, encourage active participation in public affairs as a citizen. Eight, teaches to create own content. But first, let's discuss the developed skills in information verification and respect to people's point of view. So I will read the definition first. As a reader, it develops your ability to discern the truthfulness and credibility of information that you have read, photos that you have seen, and even information that you have watched and heard through different media platforms. The popularization of the fake news and even distorted propaganda is the best example that teaches every individual to not only validate but triangulate information. So in this developed skills in information verification and respect to people's point of view, you are able to determine the factual information and misinformation or the fake news. So as a reader, if you have a habit of digging for information or you look for another sources, then you are able to develop the information verification skills. When we see information verification skills, this can include verifying data, reviewing the documents for accuracy, or verifying the identity of an individual. For example, about the Marcos family. Or the issues here is the martial law. When former Ferdinand Marcos declares the martial law in the year 1972, they said martial law is to torture the Filipino people because in the year 1960 to 1970, there's a lot of CPP and PA here in the Philippines. That's why former Ferdinand Marcos declares the martial law. Then if you said martial law is to torture the Filipino people instead of reduce violent urban crime, collect unregistered firearms, and other more, then you are not developing skills information verification. But always remember class, you need to respect their point of view. Second importance of media literacy is strengthens critical and analytical skills or thinking.
Strengthens critical and analytical thinking. Media literacy exercises your mind to process the real and deeper meaning of a content material being written, discussed, and posted. It creates more than imagination, especially on issues where a wide variety of interpretation can be derived of. To be critical is to give a sound judgment. Ang media literacy ay tinutulungan tayo upang iproseso ang mga kontekstong may malalalim na kahulugan na kung saan ay nahahasa ang ating kaisipan. Mas pinapalawak ng konseptong ito ang ating imahinasyon lalo na sa mga issue na nangangailangan ng matinding interpretasyon.
Number 3, teaches responsible sharing of information and proper acknowledgement of media sources. The popular reminder, think before you click, is the best example for this, as most students are fond of sharing information in the social media, especially on their accounts without carefully analyzing the content and even not checking the timelines of the event. One example here is on the memorandum about public holidays and suspension of classes where people would share without checking the dates as well as the legitimacy of the office who released the said announcement. So, learning to be information literate is an active process that necessitates the acquisition of knowledge from a variety of sources. However, we should bear in mind that we should think before we click. We should always share legitimate information only. We should thoroughly check the information we provide to avoid spreading fake news and misinformation.
So media mirrors our society. So what media mirrors our society? The media is our mirror of society. And if the society is by any means influenced by stereotypes, the media will reflect it. Advertising, according to Erving Goffman, author of the book Gender Advertising, despite how men and women behave, has a social purpose, and how today's social purpose is highly unbalanced is men's favor. So some people say that advertisers should be held accountable for unethical image that they present. Others, however, say that customers should be to blame because by buying the products being advertised, they are in fact supporting the advertisers and image they set forth. The solution to this issue is simple. If these genders message are ever expected to change, customers should stop supporting. So that is media mirrors our culture. So media and culture relationship. So what media and culture relationship? Just as society forms, and it's formed in part of message in the mass media. So it goes with the culture products and their popularity can influence which media channels people prefer. So, second is what is the role of the media in culture. So, media reflects the norms, cultures, and values. Media can lead the evolutions and revolutions of mind and heart of the people, fostering the information's literacy and awareness in the nation. So that it's the media mirrors our society.
Determines and identifies communication strategies. So what are communication strategies? Communication strategies are the blueprints for how this information will be exchanged. Communication is the exchange of information between a sender and a receiver. It used to be that you only had to worry about the way you communicated face-to-face or on proper. So there are three communication strategies: non-verbal, verbal, and visual. First is verbal communication strategies. Verbal communication strategies can be broken down into the two categories of written and oral communication. Written strategies consist of avenues such as email, text, and chat. Examples that fall into the oral category are phone calls, video chats, and face-to-face conversation. Nonverbal communication strategies consist of mostly visual cues such as body language, facial expressions, physical distance between communicators, or the tone of your voice. So lastly is visual communication strategies. Visual communication strategies can be seen through signs, webpage, and illustrations. These strategies are used in the workplace to draw attention and provide documentation.
Teaches you how to not be swayed by persuasion techniques. In relation to item number 5, media also train us to become more aware of the events that are happening in our society. It hastens our minds to study situations, especially when we need to take sides due to non-neutrality in a certain issue. Media gives us the opportunity to listen to both sides, push us to do research on certain topics, and eventually bring us to a tougher decision-making where we will not be deceived by different propaganda. Persuasion is an element of what we see, hear, and read in media. Advertisers and marketers want their target audience to buy their products. Politicians seek to persuade voters to vote for them. Policymakers and activists hope to persuade citizens to support their position on various issues. One way they all do this is through a concept called framing. Persuasive language can make any type of media more engaging and convincing. However, its ultimate goal is to gain your trust and influence your thinking. This is why it's important to recognize common types of persuasive language so you can look beyond the rhetoric and think for yourself.
Encourage active participation in public affairs as a citizen. Media help us to become an active citizen through public conversations where we can air our opinions as well as where we can give our positive and negative reactions. Our contributions as a citizen is vital in the attainment of our goals, not only as an individual but as a productive member of our society. So it means active citizen participation is one of the most important parts of any engagement project. It's the local people that know the ins and outs of where they live and who will want their voices heard when it comes to changes and improvements. Active citizen participation is about having a voice and influence in community decision making. Sometimes people think active citizen participation just means participating in the community like community service or something like that. Be mindful that active citizen participation is about being a part of the decision-making process in the community or in whatever setting is the focus. So for example, in the school system, encourage active participation that students and teachers are a part of the decision-making process that means the future of the school systems. Active citizen participation does not necessarily mean that citizens makes all decisions, but it does not mean their voice is truly heard and they really do influence decision in some democratic way.
Teachers to create own content. Regardless of your teaching style, let's take a closer look at each of these tips so that you can create educational content quickly. First is start simple. Keep your content focused on specific points that you need to convey. Remember, your main goal is to communicate information that helps your students do something better or learn something new. Second, lead with a story. Everybody loves a good story. If you need to engage students quickly, open your course with a real scenario that introduces your topic. Third is save time with pre-built content. As a busy educator, you have to ask yourself whether building your online course from scratch is really the best use of your time, especially when all-in-one systems like Rise give you access to pre-built lessons and course templates that you can easily edit. And lastly, repurpose your content. If you've been teaching for a while, you probably have a lot of content already on hand. You can refresh this content by adding in new examples that are more current, or reworking information so that it targets a different age of group.